Afi's eyes fluttered open, and she found herself lying on the cold, damp ground of an unfamiliar forest. The towering trees above cast long shadows, and the air was thick with the scent of earth and moss. She tried to remember how she got there, but her mind was a haze. Slowly, she reached up to touch her head, and her heart sank. Her hair, once thick and beautiful, was gone. Her head was completely shaved. Panic set in as she stumbled to her feet, her legs trembling. She felt a deep sense of shame wash over her. Her hair had been her pride, and now it was gone, leaving her vulnerable and confused. With no other choice, she began the long, arduous journey back to her village. When Afi finally emerged from the forest and into the village, the sun was beginning to set. The villagers paused in their evening tasks, eyes widening in shock as they saw her. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Is that Afi?"
Is that Afi?
one woman murmured.
What happened to her hair?
"What happened to her hair?" another questioned. Afi kept her head down, feeling the weight of their stares and the sting of their words. She hurried to her hut, her heart heavy with embarrassment. She had agreed to marry one of the wealthiest boys in the village, a decision driven by the promise of a comfortable life. But now, with her hair gone, she feared he would no longer want her. Afi didn't have to wait long to find out. The boy, whose wealth had drawn her to him, visited her the next day. He looked at her with a mixture of pity and disgust, his eyes lingering on her bald head. "Afi," he began, his voice cold, "I cannot marry you like this. My wife must have hair. It is unseemly for a woman to be without it." His words cut deep, and Afi felt tears welling up in her eyes. She had hoped that his feelings for her would be stronger than this superficial concern, but she was wrong. He left her standing there, heartbroken and alone, with the realization that his love had been as thin as her missing hair. One morning, another girl in the village awoke near the river to find her hair completely gone, just like Afi's. She, too, was left confused and frightened, with no memory of how it happened. The villagers were baffled, unable to find any explanation. But when yet another girl experienced the same fate, a sense of dread began to settle over the village. These girls, like Afi, found that their hair was not growing back. The village was soon in an uproar as fear and suspicion spread like wildfire. Mothers clutched their daughters tightly, elders spoke in hushed tones, and everyone wondered who or what could be behind these mysterious occurrences. The once peaceful village was now gripped by unease, as no one could explain the strange and terrifying events unfolding around them. The tension in the village grew with each passing day. The girls who had lost their hair avoided stepping out of their homes, fearing the whispers and glances of the villagers. The elders called for meetings, but no one could offer a solution or even a plausible explanation for what was happening. It seemed as though a dark shadow had fallen over the village, one that could not be easily lifted. Rumors began to spread. Some said it was a curse. Others whispered about spirits that might be punishing the village for some unknown transgression. The fear was palpable, and it hung in the air like a thick fog. Afi, still reeling from her own ordeal and the loss of her betrothal, found herself drawn into the mystery. She would often sit by the window of her hut, watching as the village went about its day, trying to piece together any clues that might help explain what was happening. But every lead seemed to lead to a dead end, and the sense of hopelessness only deepened. One day, Afi overheard a conversation between two women at the market. They were discussing how the girls who had lost their hair all seemed to be connected somehow. They spoke in hushed tones, casting furtive glances around as if afraid they might be overheard by the wrong person. Afi listened intently, her heart racing as she realized that the connection might be the key to solving the mystery. But before she could act on this newfound information, another girl in the village woke up to find her hair gone. This time, the girl had been engaged to the same wealthy boy who had abandoned Afi. The discovery sent shockwaves through the village. Could it be that the boy was somehow involved in these strange occurrences? But how? And why? The fear in the village reached a fever pitch. The villagers demanded answers, but none were forthcoming. Afi, though deeply troubled, knew that she had to find out the truth, no matter the cost. There was something sinister at play, and it was up to her to uncover it before it was too late. She had no idea that the truth would be far more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. Afi couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the boy than met the eye. The connection between the girls who had lost their hair and their broken engagements with him was too strong to ignore. Determined to uncover the truth, Afi decided to keep a closer watch on him, despite the risk it posed. One afternoon, as the village was busy with preparations for an upcoming festival, Afi noticed the boy slipping away from the crowd. Curious, she followed him from a distance, careful not to be seen. He made his way through the village, past the marketplace, and into the outskirts where his hut stood. Grand and well-furnished, a stark contrast to the modest homes of the other villagers. As Afi approached, she saw him enter his hut and close the door behind him. She crept closer, her heart pounding in her chest. The closer she got, the more she felt something was off, a strange energy emanating from the hut. She waited for what felt like hours, hidden in the tall grass, until she saw a young girl, a new fiancée, approach the hut. The girl knocked softly on the door, and after a moment, the boy let her in. Afi edged closer, her curiosity piqued. She couldn't hear their conversation, but she noticed something peculiar. The girl's gaze kept drifting toward a small, half-open door in the corner of the hut. The boy noticed too and quickly shut the door, his demeanor growing tense. Afi held her breath, her instincts screaming that the answer to the villagers' troubles lay behind that door. The girl, perhaps sensing the same, seemed hesitant, but eventually she left the hut, casting a final wary glance at the door before departing. As soon as the girl was out of sight, Afi saw her chance. She knew she had to act quickly while the boy was still inside. Quietly, she pressed her ear against the wall. She could hear the boy moving around inside, muttering to himself. After a few moments, she heard the door to the mysterious room creak open. Her pulse quickened. Carefully, she peered through a small crack in the wall, and what she saw made her blood run cold. The boy was standing in the middle of the room, holding a comb, an ornate, ancient-looking comb that seemed to glow with a sinister light. But that wasn't what horrified her the most. The room was filled with hair, long strands, short locks, curls, and waves, all piled around the comb as if it were feeding on them. The sight was both grotesque and mesmerizing, and Afi couldn't tear her eyes away. Suddenly, the boy turned, and Afi ducked down, her heart hammering in her chest. She had seen enough. The boy was using the comb to steal the girl's hair, and in return, it granted him wealth. The realization made her sick to her stomach. She had to tell the elders, but she needed proof. As she backed away from the hut, Afi's mind raced. How could she expose the boy without putting herself in danger? She knew the villagers would be shocked by the truth, but they needed to hear it from someone who had seen the comb with their own eyes. She decided to approach the girl who had visited the hut earlier. That evening, she found her near the river, sitting alone and deep in thought. Afi hesitated, then sat down beside her. "Did you see it?" Afi asked quietly. The girl looked at her, startled. "See what?" The girl's eyes widened in fear, and she quickly looked away. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Afi insisted. We need to tell the elders. This has to stop. The girl's hands trembled as she clutched her knees. I saw it, but I was too scared to say anything. What if he finds out? Afi placed a reassuring hand on the girl's arm. We'll do it together. The village deserves to know the truth. The girl nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. Together, determined to put an end to the boy's dark secret once and for all. The night passed slowly for Afi and the girl, both of them restless with anticipation. They had agreed to meet with the elders first thing in the morning to share what they had uncovered. As dawn broke, the elders gathered, grim-faced and determined, and together they made their way to the boy's house. The villagers, sensing that something momentous was about to happen, watched from a distance as the elders approached the grand hut on the outskirts of the village. The boy, still groggy from sleep, opened the door and was startled to find the elders standing before him. His eyes widened in fear as he saw Afi and the girl among them. We need to see what you've been hiding, the head elder said sternly, his voice leaving no room for argument. The boy's face drained of color. I don't know what you mean. Enough!
Enough!
The elder cut him off. We know about the comb and the room where you've kept it. Open the door now, or we will do it ourselves.
We know everything.
Trembling, the boy stepped back, his resolve crumbling under the weight of their collective gaze. He led them inside the hut, past the main room, and toward the small forbidden door in the corner. His hands shook as he reached for the latch. The door creaked open, revealing the dark, sinister room that Afi had glimpsed before. The elders stepped inside, their eyes widening as they took in the sight before them. Piles of hair, in every shade and texture, surrounding the cursed comb on its pedestal. The comb seemed to pulse with a dark energy, as if feeding on the hair that surrounded it. The head elder turned to the boy, his expression a mix of anger and disappointment. You have brought great harm to this village, all for the sake of greed. The boy fell to his knees, unable to meet their eyes. I didn't know it would go this far, he whispered. I found it in my grandmother's things. I didn't realize what it could do until it was too late. The elders knew what needed to be done. The head elder retrieved the comb, its dark energy pulsing weakly in his hands. The only way to reverse the curse is for you to pay the price yourself, he told the boy. We must comb your hair with this, and only then will the stolen hair return to the girls. The boy hesitated, but the elders gave him no choice. They led him to a stool in the center of the room and instructed him to sit. The elder began to comb the boy's hair, and as he did, the comb's sinister energy seemed to fade, growing weaker with each stroke. The boy's hair began to fall out, just as the girl's hair had done before. But as his hair fell away, something miraculous happened. The hair that had been stolen from the girls reappeared, first as soft fuzz, then growing thicker and fuller until it was restored to its original state. The boy, now bald and broken, could only watch as the elders completed the ritual. His wealth, once tied to the power of the comb, vanished along with his hair. He was left with nothing but the guilt of his actions and the scorn of the village. Afi's hair grew back, and with it came a newfound understanding of what truly mattered in life. The ordeal had shown her that wealth and status were fleeting, but the strength of character and the support of a close-knit community were priceless. She no longer yearned for the comforts that wealth could bring. Instead, She valued the simple joys of life and the bonds she had forged with those around her. The village, too, had learned a valuable lesson. The comb was taken far from the village and buried deep in the forest, never to be used again. The villagers vowed to be more mindful of the dangers of greed and to value one another for who they were, not for what they possessed. As for the boy, he left the village in shame, unable to face the consequences of his actions. His name became a warning, a tale of the dangers of greed and the importance of humility.